Well, welcome everyone to the IOD. It won't be a surprise to you that a third of our members fly at least 6 times a year, and over 90% of our members think that we need more airport capacity. There definitely is a feeling that this country ought to get on with the decision about what it's going to do about giving us more airport capacity.
Back in the 2000s in the UK, a lot of the policy work that happened at the time was looking at whether or not the monopoly of the ownership of the airports at the time was working well for airlines and delivering for passengers. And it basically said that, in actual fact, this common ownership doesn't seem to be working at all for airlines or at all for passengers, and the remedy was the forced breakup of that BAA monopoly. And importantly, if we came back to the matter of airport expansion, then you'd actually see the big airports vying with one another to say that I want to expand, which is something which had never really been seen in the common ownership, because the monopoly ownership always focused on Heathrow. So if we look to the future in terms of the second runway, I suppose the case for Gatwick is this. We're full. We've grown significantly faster in separate ownership than was the case essentially when Heathrow owned us. We've invested over £1.3 billion in our airport to date in 6 years and transformed the service levels. And our runway scheme costs only about a third of the cost of Heathrow's. It's fully privately financed. We're not looking for a penny of taxpayer subsidy. Heathrow's looking for £6 billion of taxpayer subsidy.
Why don't we have a little chat about starting out what the business travelers' needs are now, and how have they changed from when we all started traveling?
What has happened to the proportion of time spent flying as opposed to the proportion of time spent actually getting to the airport? It's become a real pain from a businessman's point of view, because you spend far too much time doing stuff that doesn't add value to your business.
You want, when you arrive at the airport, you want to have as little hassle as possible. I know security is vitally important and the security process needs to be very robust, but you want to get through that pretty quickly.
Obviously, if you look at kind of the SME or startup, obviously the booming tech sector in the UK, price is obviously a big deal. You have the cash flow is king. Beyond the West Coast and the US market, the big growth areas really for a lot of companies are, Asia. Gatwick is looking at connecting into those parts, because that's where a lot of potential growth is for businesses in the UK.
For the size of the industry, there's a distinct lack of information, I think, sort of available in terms of price, clarity, in terms of prices, benefits. Bearing in mind that information should be kind of readily available in this day and age, it just doesn't seem to be there.
I mean, I fly all the time, and I want to get dressed on the plane after I've gone to sleep. But they never had a woman go in the bathroom, I think, when they designed the plane.
You cannot go into an airport, very, very few places you can go into an airport and get changed out of a suit into something that you're going to sleep in the airport. You can't do it. You end up in the bathroom.
Let's look at one more thing before you respond, if that's okay, which is, what are the UK's needs for aviation infrastructure?
There's always this sort of big question about, of course we have this long-term planning about adding runways, but there's also the issue about adding the infrastructure to get people there and how long it takes, making the journey door to door as smooth as possible.
It's being able to add value while you're spending 14 hours or however many hours it is, as opposed to sitting there doing things that bore you to tears.
Between now and 2018, we'll actually see a doubling of the seat capacity on rail going to and from the airport. The new carriages that are coming on board have Wi-Fi on board.
There's nowhere, basically, to put even business baggage, no matter leisure-type baggage. You see all these people struggling like crazy.
Passengers have told us, the industry, that they need, first of all, are very wide vestibule areas. Secondly, they want accessibility to luggage racks, so you can just put your bag down and take your seat. If you want to get people on and off a train quickly, you put the doors a third and 2/3 down the train. We'll have a train going in the direction of London, leaving Gatwick, once every 2.5 minutes. But the technology changes in our industry are actually to the aircraft. You could set off from Gatwick and in one go fly to Perth. without stopping. So why do you get that range? Well, because they're now using carbon composite materials, so they're a lot lighter, they're very environmentally friendly, and they've got less fuel burn. They've actually reduced the size of the aircraft to enable more agile point-to-point travel.
You just wonder, well, what proportion is going to become point-to-point and what proportion is going to be hubbing. So it's a fascinating evolving market.
This is from the Davis Commission report. From a European basis, if you develop Gatwick, you serve 2 more destinations than if you develop Heathrow. So in total, it doesn't matter which one you develop. According to Davis, both schemes mean that the UK in 2050 will serve 405 different destinations.
At the IOD, we're not making any judgments. We just want another runway. That's what we want. And we want better connectivity for London because we think it's more competitive for us as a country.
From a selfish business traveller standpoint, I think there is a significant difference between airport facilities generally and then the needs of the business traveller. So I would love to see Gatwick or any other airport provide a competitive and superior experience to Heathrow.
I like options in things, so I kind of favour Gatwick versus having all eggs in one basket maybe with regard to Heathrow.
You know, I'd love to have a connected experience where, you know, I have an app on the phone or some kind of intelligent bot that tells me, hey, you know, you need to get to the airport, this is your flight, this is your quickest options.
The worst thing in the world is when your plane is delayed and you don't know why. If things are going wrong, tell us what it is so we have a choice.
First of all, can we have joined up thinking in infrastructure, so trains, roads and airports? Secondly, we can't carry on abusing the environment. And thirdly, what is going to be the effect of technology? And so in 30 years' time, how long is a runway going to need to be?
Over the next 15 to 20 years, London will become a city of 10 million instead of 8.5 million. That has a huge impact on all aspects of infrastructure. But I think we're kidding ourselves if we don't add more runway capacity at both of our leading airports.
So I suppose the case that we're putting is competition and choice should be everything. We'll keep our airport charges at around about a third of the price of Heathrow's, and we'll get it open by 2025, and we'll be cleaner and quieter from an environmental perspective.
Well, I think you've done a brilliant job answering all these points, which are diverse and very important. On behalf of the IOD, let us all say thank you very much for coming to breakfast. Come back to the IOD and join us again.